Hello, Sun City residents. I'm Mike LaBarbera, president of the Veterans Club in Sun City. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19 restrictions, the annual SCOV Veterans Day activities cannot be held as usual in the Activity Center. So I will be making this year's Veteran Day presentation through this online video. In 1968, at the height of the Vietnam War, I was eligible to be drafted. With advice from my uncle, who was an Army recruiter, he told me to enlist and choose my military specialty, instead of letting the military choose one for me. I thought about that and made a conscious choice to join the Army and become a helicopter pilot. I had passed the aviation entrance examination and started basic training in September 1968. The thought of flying a helicopter was exciting and glamorous. I couldn't wait to start training and flying those magnificent machines. Upon arriving at Fort Walters, Texas, from Fort Polk, Louisiana, I thought I made a mistake. The cadre were yelling in a frenzy at us, with batons in their hand and anger in their voice. "Get off the bus! Find your bags! Line up in formation!" I thought, what am I doing? Was this a continuation of the 8 weeks of hell I just left upon completing basic training? This was a new kind of scared. Being a helicopter pilot was on the line. I didn't want to draw attention to myself or screw up and jeopardize my training. Flight training is one of the Army's longest schools, lasting 9 months. I wanted to be an Army aviator. During those first few days of flight school, I looked around at my fellow classmates, and there he was, the one who I believed was not going to make it all the way to get his flight wings. I told myself, as long as he's in flight school, I'll be here also. It was my motivation to do well. After 4 weeks of ground school and 2 weeks of flight training, I was the first one in my class to make a solo flight. What a thrill, leaving the ground without my instructor beside me for the first time. It was exhilarating, rewarding, and frightening, all at the same time. I was in my own private world, applying the techniques my flight instructor taught me, flying around the traffic pattern, making 3 takeoffs and landings on my own. My first solo flight was celebrated on the way home from flight line by stopping at the local Holiday Inn with my fellow classmates, swinging and tossing me into the pool, a customary rite of passage. After getting my Army wings and becoming a warrant officer, I had assignments in Vietnam, Fort Bragg, Germany, Hawaii, and multiple trips to Fort Rucker, Alabama for professional education classes. It was there I got advanced flight training as a helicopter instructor pilot and instrument flight examiner. I felt like I had the dream job in the Army. I enjoyed every day in the sky. I would tell my friends, my office is out there somewhere. I spent my last 6 years on active duty in Arizona. I was a helicopter instructor pilot at Pinal Air Park, north of Tucson, teaching pilots from all around the country. It was my best duty assignment because I was doing what I believe I was destined to do: teach. During my Army career, I learned the art of making learning fun, giving meaning to otherwise mundane material. I made students feel important. I made them feel they had the ability and confidence to form at the safest and highest level. I retired from the Army in 1994 and moved from Tucson to Indiana and taught in high school. The transition from helicopter instructor pilot to JROTC instructor was a challenge at first. I had to make adjustments in my teaching techniques because I had a different audience. teenagers. It didn't take long, but I learned young adults, when given respect, give respect back. I made them feel important and that they could succeed. I would get to school an hour before my first class, and there would be cadets waiting at my door to open the classroom. It brought a smile to my face when I turned the corner to see them there. I may not have affected every cadet I taught, but it's nice to know I played a part in a large number of them making it through high school and beyond. I spent 35 years wearing my own Army uniform, 20 years on active duty, and 15 years teaching junior ROTC. Back then, and to this day, I live and practice the Army values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. In the 1960s were turbulent times in American history. The assassination of a president, a senator, and a civil rights leader. Vietnam was dividing the country. There were protesters against the war and protesters against anyone who wore a uniform. Never before in American history had our military personnel been so horribly mistreated by fellow Americans, an injustice that's hard to forget. I first read this description of a veteran for the first time a few months ago and want to share it with you. It is called We Are Veterans, author unknown. We left home as teenagers for an unknown adventure. We loved our country enough to defend it and protect it with our own lives. We said goodbye to friends and family and everything we knew. We learned the basics, and then we scattered in the wind to the far corners of the earth. We found new friends and new family. We became brothers and sisters regardless of race, color, or creed. We had plenty of good times and plenty of bad times. We didn't get enough sleep, and we drank too much. We picked up both good and bad habits. We worked harder and played harder. We didn't earn a great wage. We experienced the happiness of mail call and the sadness of missing important events. We didn't know when or even if we were going to see home again. We grew up fast, and yet somehow we never grew up at all. We fought for our freedom as well as the freedom of others. Some of us saw actual combat, and some of us didn't. Some of us saw the world, and some of us didn't. Some of us dealt with physical warfare. Most of us dealt with psychological warfare. We participated in time-honored ceremonies and rituals with each other, strengthening our bonds and camaraderie. We counted on each other to get our job done and sometimes to survive it at all. We have dealt with victory and tragedy. We have celebrated and mourned. We lost a few along the way. When our adventure was over, some of us went back home, some of us started new, and some of us never came home at all. We have told amazing and hilarious stories of our exploits and adventures. We share an unspoken bond with each other that most people don't experience and few will understand. We speak highly of our own branch of service and poke fun at the others. We know, however, that if needed, we will be there for our brothers and sisters and stand as one in a heartbeat. Being a veteran is something that had to be earned, and it can never be taken away. It has no monetary value, but at the same time, it is priceless. People see a veteran and they thank them for the service. When we see each other, we give that little upward head nod or a slight smile, knowing we have shared and experienced things that most people have not. Try to remember the good times and forget the bad times. Share your stories, but most important, stand tall and proud, for you have earned the right to be called a veteran. So from myself to the rest of the veterans out there, I commend and thank you for all you've done and sacrificed for our country. Before leaving, enjoy the Armed Forces Medley honoring each branch of our military service. Thank you.
Here are the chiefs of the military services, Maestro Jack Everly, the National Symphony Orchestra and military choruses for the Armed Forces Medley.
United States Coast Guard. United States Air Force.